So you're here for your husband. Share a little bit about his case and why you're fighting so hard for him.
Well, he was convicted in 2005. He was convicted on testimony with no physical evidence. The testimony was from co-defendants that were trying to avoid the death penalty. There was video from a gas station that showed that he was not even with the co-defendants at the time.
Let's do this video first. Come on, sit down. Let's do this video first. We started it.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. Come on, sit down. We want to talk about your son too.
Okay. What am I going to talk about?
Really anything. You got more to it?
The case is out of Summit County, Akron, Ohio.
Okay, and if they want to reach you to help, how do they do that?
Well, there's a Facebook page that's easiest to get a hold of, and it's Wrongful Conviction Patrick Shane Radford.
Okay, and she is our president. And then over here, I'm turning this thing around, and then you see her over there? Oh, I can't tell if you're in the picture. Are you in the picture?
Yeah.
Okay. Jamie, talk a little bit about Austin and his wrongful conviction, or I should say, his innocence.
Are they going to hear me?
Yes.
My son is convicted of a murder and an unrelated robbery of a Pizza Joe's that happened 9 days later. He was sentenced to 58 years in Ohio prisons. There was no evidence whatsoever. The detective admitting to not investigating most of the case during trial. During trial, when the detective was testifying, the media got up and walked out before he testified and then came back in right after he was done testifying.
There was no DNA, right?
No, all the DNA that they tested did not point to my son. They tested 4 bags of his clothing because the people who accused him stated that they were sure that those were the bags of clothing that had clothing associated with the murder, and they came up with nothing that implicated him of being with Brandon Sample that night. The only thing he was guilty of was getting a ride home from Willow Lake earlier in the evening, but the young man that was killed was riding around with another person that had injuries to his hand and arm that he gave varying accounts about how it happened. He said one story during the detective's interview, and then he told a completely different story on the stand in trial.
Willow Lake was one place I hung out with as a kid.
Yeah, Willow Lake was a place that we were at for a family event. I left early to go to a dinner, and Austin stayed back until they were closed, and his phone was running out of battery, and the girl that was supposed to pick him up got lost, and she ended up showing up, but he had already walked down the road a bit because he didn't want to get in trouble for loitering in front of Willow Lake, and that was where Brandon Sample picked him up and took him to our house at 8:30 at night. And Brandon Sample had a young man named Josh White with him that was his friend. And, you know, he talked to Austin about maybe hanging out later on, but then they never hooked up. And nobody knows what happened to Brandon Sample, except for a couple new witnesses that came forward. That was all, you know, listed in our post-conviction appeal. There's a lot of shady things that happened. There was another person or other people that were implicated, and the judge and the prosecutor during our post-conviction appeal sealed the juvenile records of the individual that was implicated in the shooting so that nobody could see his sign-out dates from JJC. And he wouldn't share it with the defense either. That's why the Ohio Supreme Court, one of the reasons why they wrote a dissenting opinion against jurisdiction in our case was because why hide anything if you're standing beside your conviction and you're not lying? Yeah. So the prosecutor wants to accuse everybody else of lying, but he won't show proof of his statements. Yeah. So we want to know why you're sealing those records and not making them public. All we're asking for is the sign out dates. And if you don't have anything to hide, then you wouldn't be hiding them from us and the defense. They were part of a public record, part of a post-conviction appeal, and they should be public. So there's other things that happened, a lot of evidence that was destroyed or disappeared. So anyway, we'll have to continue to see how this case goes.
Okay. And I wanted to get back with Charlotte here because are you in the picture?
I can't see it. You got to come around.
Sorry guys. Are you in it?
Yep.
Okay. Now, if I remember correct, Patrick was sleeping during this incident that took place. Is that correct?
He was drunk and passed out 2 floors away in a room that he rented in Derek Shuck's house.
Yeah. And there was other people that actually committed that murder, but they testified against your husband.
Correct.
To get out of their
the death
wrongdoing.
penalty.
That is so common in Ohio. You don't even need solid evidence. All you need to do is finger point someone and they're going to be convicted of a crime. So, but we want to get down to the truth on all the people that we support that was wrongful. Look how you turn this around like this. I'm so talented. Then of course, let's see, I'm trying to think, you know, we're still going to be here for a while, and I'm not sure if Charles Keith is coming or not. Chris Miller's still supposed to be here. He said he was.
I got it.
So
Oh no, it's locked.
we'll find out, guys. We'll be back in a little bit.